Welcome back, everybody. This is What the Health, and I am Dr. Greg Eckel, and our title today is Total Sexy Health. We are going to have a riveting discussion here with Udo Erasmus. He's the co-founder of Udo's Choice line, which can be found in Whole Foods and other health food stores worldwide. He designed the machinery for making oils with health in mind and pioneered flax oil, a billion-dollar industry. However, Udo walked a different path to become the man he is today. Being a child of war, his life began with intense struggle. As an adult, he got pesticide poisoning in 1980, leaving doctors at a loss regarding treatments. Deciding to take his health into his own hands, Udo began researching, and his discoveries led him to a passion for finding the answers to life's big questions, which would hopefully one day bring him and the world peace. Today, Udo is an acclaimed speaker and author of many books, including the best-selling Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, which has sold over 250,000 copies. He teaches at events hosted by Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra, has keynoted an international brain health conference, and has traveled to over 30 countries to conduct thousands of live presentations, media interviews, and staff trainings, impacting more than 25 million lives with his message on oils, health, peace, nature, and human nature. Udo has extensive education in biochemistry, genetics, biology, nutrition, including a master's degree in counseling psychology. Welcome aboard, Udo.
Good afternoon, or whatever time of day it might be. I'm glad to be on, and we're going to have some fun.
We are. And, I have to say, I have so enjoyed your writing through the years. I worked in the library at NCNM, the National College for Natural Medicine, Portland, Oregon. And your textbook was required reading in our nutrition class by Dr. Mars. And I still have it today. So I really appreciate you, your heart, spirit, soul, and mind. And I'm excited for today's talk. We were talking before on how do we title this, and we came up with the Total Sexy Health. So I think with that, I'm going to leave it over to you.
Or how about total sacred health and total sexy health, and why the two are the same?
I love it. I love it. Yes.
Yeah. So where do you want to go? Where do you want to start?
Let's talk about that. So why are total sacred health and sexy health, you're linking those together, which I do as well.
Yeah.
We both share maybe maybe an appreciation of Buckminster Fuller. I've said on this show, we're creating the new system so that the old one becomes irrelevant, the Buckminster Fuller moment in time. Yeah. And you've shared maybe some stages with Bucky, perhaps. I think, the component for you around internal awareness, life energy, the sacred health, sexy health. Let's start with that.
Yeah. Okay. So, Einstein is claimed to have said, I wasn't there when he said it, but he has claimed to have said, either everything is sacred or nothing is sacred. And you could say the same thing about sexy. Sexy is not a sexual term. It's a power word. So when something is sexy, it could be, that's applied to gadgets. It's not just applied to people. That's applied to gadgets. It's applied to architecture, to art, to something that's really outstanding. Sometimes people will say sexy, right? Right? And it has nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
But it's a power word. It's like, and in industry, everything is sold by sexy.
Yeah.
So when I was writing about total health, what are we going to call it? Oh, the book on total health. So one of the guys who edited it said, well, that's such a boring title. Why did you call it Total Sexy Health? And I said, well, I can't call it Total Sexy Health. I don't know anything about sexy. And then I went home and I started thinking about it, and I said, no, actually, I know a lot about sexy. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Right? Because sexy is vibrant, it's lively, it's energized, it's full on, And anything that's like that, we think of it as sexy.
Mm.
And because sexy is the power word, I decided, well, why don't we use the power word to sell people on their own magnificence instead of just selling them trinkets like everybody does? Because honestly, every human being is magnificent. If you're alive, you're magnificent. It doesn't matter how much crap there's in your head or how many bad stories you have, right? Your life is magnificent. If you think about it, your water, a little bit of air, a bunch of dust, all mixed together, animated by solar energy. So you're actually a solar energy gadget by a fraction of solar energy, right? And this dust, water, and air get to have the human experience, right? You laugh and you can dance and you can cry and you can have emotions and you can admire things and you can have babies and you can work and you can carry stuff and you can write little ink on paper and call it a book, and you can, all the things that you can dance, you can sing, and all of this, it's just dust, water, and air doing all that because it's been structured into a human being, right?
Yeah.
So how can that not be magnificent? And then the other thing you got to look at is, look, you didn't exist for billions of years. And now you have, if you're lucky, you get 100. I'm 81, so so far so good, right? Yeah. So maybe you get 100. And then for billions of years, I won't exist. So maybe this time I have right now here alive, maybe that's the holiday. Maybe it's that, or the holy day. Maybe I need to be like really fully present in it and not want to miss a thing because it's only 100 years. I don't have a lot of time, right? Before I get shoveled off the stage, right? And I started thinking about total health because I was working with oils. That's the most neglected area. Then I worked with digestion, enzymes, probiotics, fiber, bitters. That's the second most neglected area, or not neglected, where there's the most wrong, because everybody's got stuff going on with digestion. Then I got into greens because that's the foundation. And then I was like, okay, what's next? That hasn't been addressed, because I like to address things that haven't been addressed, right? Mm-hmm. And when I started thinking about it, wow, everything affects health. Oh my God. Everything affects health. One of the definitions of health is the natural state. And what is the natural state? The natural state is the result of living in line with nature and your nature. Then you can say, well, what the hell is my nature? Or what the heaven is my nature? Right? Since we're talking sacred, right?
Yeah. Well, so what included, right?
What's that?
They're both included. It's all of it.
Yeah. But so what is human nature? And we don't have a book on human nature. We've had a few that one of them was about sociology and another one was about poetry and just like bad experiences, it's like life experiences and traumas and dramas and stuff. We've never had anybody sit down and literally turn human nature into a teachable field. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. And so what is a human being made of? We think of ourselves as one thing. And so we like to just do one thing to try and fix everything. But it's not how human nature works. We are actually a composite of, depends on how you look at it, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, 6 things. And if you go from the core of being, so the deepest part of a human being, and then you create a bullseye going outward, in the middle of the bullseye is awareness. Awareness is beyond life and death. Awareness is the ability to notice. And in order to experience that, first of all, you have to learn how to bring your focus back into the space your body occupies, because most of the time your awareness is out in the world looking at this and monitoring change and tripping in your head. So in order to get to that deeper place, you have to do some kind of a stillness practice. It's almost like you have to be a scientist observing stillness calmly. So you sit down and you close your eyes in a safe place where you're not going to be distracted, and you ask yourself, how still can I become? You know, we used to do that when we were kids playing hide and seek. And if you only had 10 seconds to hide, and if you didn't quite make it, then you were a little bit exposed. So then you had to be really still, like no movement, not your toe twitching, you're not going, not like that. You're not snorting. So because you knew if you made a noise or made a movement, you'd be out. Right?
Yes.
So do it like that, right? So, okay, how still can you become? And then how deep can you go into that stillness?
Well,
and then how long can you stay there? And just in there, and then how lightly and slowly can you breathe without pressure? And what do you notice in the space that you're in? Because you're inside now, if you're doing this with me. And what is there? There's something to see there, there's something to hear there, there's something to feel there, there's something to taste there. And those are actually the attributes of your life. But then you ask yourself, well, who's seeing? Who is seeing what you're seeing? And who is hearing what you're hearing? And so you observe the observer. That's pure awareness. The witness, some people call it. The field, the physicists might call it. God, you might call it if you're religious. But it's just pure awareness. And in that pure awareness is all-encompassing peace. You get to it by going to your core. When you land in that core, you notice, among other things, that peace that has a center in you goes outward, is not limited to your body, and literally goes out to infinity. And you sit in that peace, and then it's like, oh my God, peace has always been everywhere. Everything we do on the planet, all the good and all the bad, that's all stuff we're putting into a foundation of peace, or onto a foundation, or into a container of peace. So you have a war in perfect peace, even the war, right? Because the peace, that peace is in every warrior. But it's outside every warrior too. So between them, around them, above them, below them, entire battlefield is in peace. But they're not focused on peace. They're focused on, you're my enemy, I'm going to kill you. And the other guys, you're my enemy, I'm going to kill you. And then they, in this total peace, they play that game. So that's the core.
Brings up a lot of questions around, it reminds me of Ram Dass, who's one of my teachers, of the loving awareness.
Be here now.
Yes. And, his big teachings at the end of his life were around loving awareness, of just being similar to what you're saying, is that you be the peace. I think as it is more just wacky out there, this message is so important for people to realize it is an inside job, right? Would you say it's an inside job?
100%. And the reason why we have the outside mess is because we're not doing the inside homework.
Yeah. It's an outer representation of what's
because
happening.
You have to take time to do that.
Yeah.
If you want peace, you have to practice peace. I live in Canada, right? So in Canada, we've spent $9.5 billion on the war in Ukraine. And how much have we spent on peace in Canada?
Yeah.
Zero. And how much, and then you look around the world, how much effort goes into preparation for war, the missiles and the planes and the explosives and the the gadgets and the stealth and the, the motors and, all of this stuff, technical, unbelievable amount of effort goes into it, and very precise and very, and where's that kind of effort for peace? So maybe that's why we don't have peace on the planet, or why we don't see peace on the planet, because it is already everywhere.
It is everywhere, but we're not tuning into it.
Because our focus is on war, just like it is on the battlefield. And bitching about this and bitching about that. What about being grateful for being dust, water, and air, having the human experience? Right? We could do that.
Yeah,
it's possible to us. Okay,
it is a choice, right? It is a choice in every moment of what we're tuning into.
Yeah.
That old adage of energy goes where attention flows. So, we're going to beget more of the things we don't want if we're focused on those things.
Yeah.
So I love your mission here. In human nature, it makes me think, Udo, I've been really studying longevity and what is a life well lived? This question of like, why do we want longevity? Like just for numbers, for status? No, we want longevity because the magnificence of the experience, right? Like that's what we want to.
Well, not everybody wants longevity. People destroy their body if they're too bummed out about living. Yeah. If they don't feel energized, if they don't feel good, they'll get to a point where they say life is not worth living. I'm checking out. Yeah. Right. So longevity, why would you be longevity? Well, if you're so madly in love with this incredible being that you are, and the world, the incredible world, this incredible being gets to live in, then you're going to do what you need to do in order to stick around for as long as possible. Because you're motivated, because you actually, I'm here. Damn, that's good. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so there's an enthusiasm that comes from being present in the space your body occupies, which brings us to the second point. Second part in that container of peace is a fraction of solar energy that was filtered through 93 miles of space, then through the Earth's atmosphere, then through, generally speaking, green plants. And the fraction that remains after all that filtering is stored in bonds between atoms to make molecules. And when we eat those molecules as food and those bonds are broken in our cells, that solar energy fraction is released. And guess what? Now we call it life. That's what life is. Life is solar energy, and we are all solar energy gadgets. Right?
Or light beings. We are light beings.
Yeah, or light beings. But I like the science thing because it makes it even more dramatically clear that there's no distinction between what we do spiritually and what we do scientifically, except the scientists tend not to want to look into the space the body occupies. And I actually used to have an argument with my philosophy of science professor at the university when I was there. And he said, and one day he said, you cannot be objective about yourself. You cannot be objective about anything subjective. And I'm thinking, it's like, well, that doesn't really make sense. Yeah. So I asked him, well, what is objectivity? He says, it's an attitude. Okay, I agree. So can you learn that attitude? He said, of course. We teach that to science students every year. So then my question was, well, if it's an attitude and you can learn that attitude, what keeps you, once you have learned it, from putting that attitude outward in your observations or inward in your observation? Objectivity is an attitude I've learned. Why can't I turn it inside? And it would drive him nuts because he couldn't argue with me because the logic was there. Yeah. But he didn't want to acknowledge that you could be objective about yourself. But if you go to a doctor, you're objective about yourself all the time. He says, why are you here? My leg hurts. That's objective. My knee hurts. That's objective. Is it front or back? Oh, it's in the back. Oh, that's objective, right? Is it sharp or dull? Well, it's dull. Okay. That's objective. If I push on this, does it hurt more, less, or same? Oh, same. Okay, and so we're giving him objective information about our subjective experience so that he can use that information to do a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And because he's trained in what are the possibilities, and we're not trained in it. So we don't know, right? And then he said, oh, well, it's your ligament, your cruciate ligament, or, oh, it's, you got a cyst or whatever it is that he comes up with.
Yeah.
He depends on me to be objective about my subjective situation.
Yeah.
To be able to diagnose and then help me, right? Anyway, back to in the container is this solar energy fraction. We call it life. But it's not only just life. Its property is that it is unconditional, empowering love for every single cell and molecule in your body. Lifelong, 24/7, no days off, no going on strike, no bitching for higher wages, right? There it is. Something takes care of you, keeps you breathing when you sleep. And when that energy separates from your body is finished.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the life energy. And that body is the master in your body. Now, if I say to you, hey, Greg, whose body is that? What do you say?
This is my body.
Yeah, you say this is my body. So guess what? You've just told me that you're not the body. It's in our language. It's in our language, hidden in plain sight. This is my body. I am not the body. I'm the owner of the body.
Yeah.
Well, who owns the body? Well, life owns the body. Oh, so actually in my essential nature, I am life, not the body. So in my essential nature, I am life, the master, unconditional empowering love that weighs nothing and runs everything. Now, this thing, go ahead.
Well, okay, that weighs nothing. So this weightlessness component, you're saying that plays a role in some of what you're teaching or learning about, right?
Not particularly. It says I'm just pointing it out.
Oh, you're just pointing it out.
In fact, energy is so light. If you think about it, energy is so light that it can move molecules. Your hair, your skin, your brain, the water in your body can lift it from the ground where it would tend to go, or where it will also go when the body falls over dead, right?
Right.
But it's able to lift that matter all the way up to the top of my head. Right? Why am I standing up? The moment you separate the life, the whole thing collapses.
Right.
Right? So that's how light is. Lighter than hydrogen. Lighter than helium. Helium balloons and all that stuff. Well, light is lighter than that.
It's interesting. I've been saying, the future of medicine is in frequency, light and sound. And having this conversation, it just reminds me of that, of this light being the energy. So keep going.
Well, so let's go there. Life is also perfect health. Cannot get sick, never dies. When your body falls down, when it's done, it's like the life doesn't disappear. It doesn't vaporize into nothing. It's energy. That energy separates from the body, and then it goes wherever it goes. I don't know exactly where it goes because I'm not dead, right?
Right.
Or my body isn't dead, so I'm not floating around. But I've had some, there are certainly lots of stories of people who've had death experiences, near-death experiences. That there is a lightness and and you basically go at the speed of light. Whenever you think of something, you're there, right?
Yeah.
And so here we are, all of us unconditionally loved, love in our own essence, the master, and I'm talking about the great masters, all of the great masters, and you would say Buddha and Krishna and Christ and maybe Socrates even, he's in that league somewhere, Lao Tzu, Huang Po, and there's a whole bunch of them.
Sure.
And these were teachers, some of them after whom religions were created, but their message was always the same message to humanity, that is the same message of life to your body. And I can shorten that because it comes from a personal experience I had that was very powerful. I am come not to judge, but to love.
Mm.
And I had an apparition of a being made of light that embodied that message at night after Christians treated me super, super badly.
Mm.
And of course, Christianity is supposed to be the religion of love,
Right.
but there's a lot of judgments that are made by so-called followers of the religion of love.
Sure.
And the master himself, one of my favorite quotes of his, he says, "What you have done to one of the least of these, that you have done to me." Well, the only way that can be true is that I am in everybody. I am in the least of these. I am in the least of these.
Mm.
And of course, life as solar energy, as that fraction, as the master in the body, is in every living human being.
Yeah.
In fact, that solar energy is also in every animal living, and it's also in every plant living, and is also in every microbe living, because just about everything on the surface of this planet is run by solar energy.
Mm.
We're the gadgets. We are the living gadgets. We are all chosen by life to be alive. So we're all chosen as well, right?
Yeah.
And when life unchooses us, the body gets recycled, right? Now, there's a little bit of energy from the moon, but that's just sunlight reflected. There's a little bit from the stars, but they're really far away, so the intensity of that is not that great. And maybe there's a little bit of energy that comes from the center of the earth, through volcanic vents in the ocean and through volcanoes. So there's a little bit. It's not pure solar energy fraction.
Sure.
But most of it, if you probably 99 point, probably 10 or 12 zeros behind that.
Wow.
99.999999999% solar energy fraction. Now, it's not all of solar, because if you went to the sun, the temperature there is 10 million, I can't remember now, 10 million or 10 billion degrees Celsius. So you would get fried. Yeah. That's why it's a good thing that it's filtered through 93 million miles of space and the atmosphere and the plants.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's the sex. So we got all-encompassing peace as the container for everything that goes on in the entire universe. Within that, we are unconditional, empowering love called life.
Mm.
Okay, so those are the two. And if you decide you want to get to know this incredible friend that has taken perfect care of you through all your dramas and all your traumas and never gives up on you,
yeah,
then again, you got to bring your focus into the space your body occupies, and that your senses monitor energy. They don't monitor things, they monitor energy, movement, shape, color, sound, silence, beat, rhythm, all that, right? Taste, sour, sweet, bland, or empty, full, loving, all of the feelings, right? So our senses monitor energy. And when you go bring your focus into the space you occupy, and you hang out in that stillness that I talked about, and you look to see what's there, you will find light in your darkness, and you will hear sound in the silence inside, and you will feel love in the emptiness inside, and you will taste sweetness in the blandness of your body.
Mm.
So you actually can experience that energy. And unbelievable how loving that is. So now you're filled with peace and with love. Geez, sounds like just a hippie. Right?
I love that.
But the thing is, it's scientifically true.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who knows science can say, is it true that the light radiates on the planet? Yeah. Is it true it lights up? Yeah. Is it, if you put a piece of plywood on a lawn, within a few days, all the grass turns yellow because it's not getting the input of light. right? Then you take it off, and all that grass becomes green again in a few days.
Are
Wow.
you saying science has proved the hippies were right?
No, but I'm going to say that from now on. No. So, well, the hippies, of course, they were taking it from psychedelic experiences that sometimes bring you in touch with that,
Sure.
or like that blow the door open, because they take you sort of deeper into the mental or the more subtle mental, or maybe even beyond the mental to some extent. So they got it from that, and they got some of it from Eastern philosophies. All of the masters have always, they call them God men, because they're human and divine at the same time, or they're experiencing the divine that is in humans. And if they were real masters, they always told everybody that what's in me is also in you. I am not different from you. If you take stillness time and you bring your focus inside, you will discover what I've discovered by doing that, if you want to, right? So they never put themselves on like, I'm perfect and you guys are screwed.
Are different. Do you feel like, are we
The institutions did that?
Are we coming back to that understanding, or maybe more of an awakening towards recognizing the magnificent in each other and together of the miracle of life? Like,
yeah, I think one of the great gifts in the COVID lockdowns, because we tend to live in distraction. Oh, what's that? Oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to have freedom. I want to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, with whoever I want to do that. That's not freedom, that's license. But we're addicted to our so-called freedoms, right? Yeah. And then we got locked down. And I was lucky because I've been in the inner practice for over 50 years. I started when I was 30, right? And when I said, oh, if you can't go outside, go inside.
Yeah.
Easy for me to say because I've been practicing it, but it'd be easy for you to say too if you practice. Yeah. And it takes practice to get good at bringing it in, just like we become good at bringing it out. When we were in our mother's womb, there was nothing to do and nowhere to go, and everything was taken care of, and it was pretty safe. And where was our focus? Well, you don't even know you had a mother. You didn't have any language. You just peed in the womb, right? You weren't toilet trained. You didn't even have to breathe. So you're hanging out, you're floating. I call it the Buddha tank. You're floating in the Buddha tank with your focus at rest inside in its source, in life, and beyond that in awareness. So you were in deep meditation for 9 months if you were a term baby, right? And then you came out, and then you had to get to know the world. Everything changed. And then drama and trauma and movement and change. And you had to learn to assess it for survival value. Is this friend? Is this forward? Can I ignore this? And we slowly went out in our focus from being present inside, absent outside, to becoming more and more present outside and absent inside. And when we got disconnected from ourselves, from our inner nature, that's where heartache began. And heartache is the call to come home. It's the symptom of our disconnection from ourselves, and there's a discontent that goes with it. And then what we try to, it's also our driving force. And then everything we try to do out there, how become famous, become rich, become cool, be on stage, whatever, get the girl, get the land, whatever, do Cirque du Soleil moves, everything we do, like we're hoping that when we succeed in what we set out to do, we will somehow feel whole again. And we don't, it never happens. You get 3 days of, oh, yeah, I did it. Right. And you're really proud of yourself for about 3 days, and then this thing is back, like this thing, that ache, that feeling in your chest, this uneasy, uncomfortable, maybe painful, and we have lots of names for that feeling depending on the triggers that set it off. But the trigger is not the cause. In trauma counseling, they say, oh, because your mother didn't hold you, you got trauma. No. Trauma, the trauma is the natural, normal, the disconnection. is the natural, normal, necessary process for every human being. It doesn't matter how much your mother hugs you, you will still get disconnected from yourself and move your focus into the outside world.
It's part of the
And
curriculum of life, is it not?
yeah, you have to get out because you got to survive in the world.
Yeah.
And that's automatic because it's important for survival. But going back is not automatic because there's nothing inside of you going, hey, look at me, listen to me.
Beacon back.
So going back, it has to be deliberate. Other than when you feel heartache, that's your call. So people don't like heartache. They say, oh, they either distract themselves from it, or they ignore it, or they deny it, or they try to pull some cockamamie cosmology over their head. Sure. Anytime it, then right. And some of the people who have these cosmologies, they're the most, they claim to be allied with the greatest power, and they're the most scared people.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work, or you blame it on somebody.
Yeah, but you become a victim. Udo, I am so enjoying our conversation. I think we're needing to wrap it up here in the next 3 minutes. Can we do that?
Oh, I know. Well, there's 8 parts. We're still on 2.
Part 3. Well, we could come back and I'd love to continue this conversation.
Okay.
This is exactly what the health is about. Yeah. So we can, we definitely we'll do a little open hook for everybody and a cliffhanger. So we'll get to where we need to. We'll take a note, and then we'll do a part 2 because this is fun.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the trigger is not the cause. The cause is your disconnection, and the cure for the trauma is the reconnection to the place where we were before we were born. And that place is still in us. The love is still in us. The peace is still in us. And when we get to that, we feel whole, we feel loved, we feel cared for, and then it's not about us anymore. And then we basically shine into the world with one question: how can I help? Because I'm cared for. Now I can help. Now I'm not saying, what can I do that gets me taken care of? I'm taken care of. And so the shine into the world is number 3, and I call that inspired purpose. And that's your contribution into the world. We also call it positive mind, vision, purpose, genius, originality, and then that becomes the guidelines for our doing, which is physical. So that's number 3. And that's just a shine of unconditional love into the world, that energy that is our life into the world. We are radiant beings. So that's number 3. And all of this is internal, and that's where most people don't pay much attention. But we are under pressure to find that and build a world where that's acknowledged, because if we don't do that, we will destroy this planet. We will definitely destroy ourselves. And we're not that far away from doing it. We have the means, and we are stupid and crazy enough to do it.
Yes. And it seems like we've been there for quite some time.
Yeah, like 200,000 years.
It's kind of been on the edge of like, this is really insane that we just won't choose the peace and the love. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good pause place for us here. Yeah. I'm going to, yes, listeners and viewers, we're going to keep you on the hook here, but there's not homework, but to live a lit up life, one that is this life force energy. I think you've really laid out some great ways of stilling. So I want
and what's cool about it is, like, you don't have to create any of this stuff. That's who you are. It's already there. You just need to bring your focus back. I love it. And that takes practice. Yeah.
So I want folks write in the comments what you find when you try to go into that internal stillness. How is it? What was your experience? Give us some feedback here, because we're going to get back. I love this conversation, Udo.
And if you say it's boring to sit still, then I want you to look at how peaceful that boredom is.
You know what my mother used to say about that? It says, well, it shows how the company you keep is.
So because we're addicted to doing, right? And when you sit out of that addiction, then it's like for little bit is like, oh, it's boring. Oh, there's nothing going on. Yeah, that's what you
Mhm.
want. That's what you're looking for. It's called peace.
Yes, peace. I love it. Udo,
Yeah.
we're going to finish this conversation. I thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the start of this
Yeah.
sexy total health discussion. And
Sacred, sexy.
we're
Awesome.
we'll get back to you with part 2 of our conversation. Thank you.
Cool.